Part 79. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 784. In the morning in the cafeteria, everyone found that Richelieu had grown up. That morning, Sugu received a report on Richelieu's data. Bust, waist, hip, shoulder width, body fat ratio. Sugu said, "Please, Missouri. I want to see the ship equipment parameters. This is what I should know as an admiral. Understand each ship. How good is your mother's ability? Only then can we arrange the missions for everyone in the future. Avoid unnecessary consumption as much as possible, and at the same time ensure victory as much as possible." "What are you showing me? I don't want it." Missouri crossed her arms, her face full of disgust. Then he curled his lips and let out a sneer, as if he was laughing at someone for being too pretentious. Seeing her like this, Sugu felt helpless. "Why is it that no one believes me when I tell you the truth? I act like a pervert and just focus on how beautiful and sexy the ship girl is." The big banyan tree was lush and green. Sugu was sitting on the stone bench under the shade of the tree, and Missouri was sitting on the stone table without any image. She reached out and took the report away from Sugu's hand. "Since you don't want to read it, I'll take it away." "Take it away. After all, it will insult my upright and stalwart image." Sugu waved his hand, thinking that he had finished reading it anyway, and he couldn't see anything else. He only knew that Richelieu was in good shape. "It's just ordinary data. If you don't have something in your mind, why are you so excited?" Missouri smiled contemptuously. She gestured to herself again and giggled. "To be honest, we measured Richelieu with the belly button as the dividing line. The upper and lower ratio is 5:8, which is simply the golden ratio. It is really a devil's figure." Sugu played the opposite tune. "Everyone's aesthetics is different. There is no standard. So, you don't understand. Of course there is a standard for an ideal body shape." "Well, maybe it's because you have a special sense of aesthetics." Missouri showed off. "The bust should be half of the height, and the waist should be smaller than the bust. 20 centimeters. Stop, stop, stop." Sugu looked around and found that there was no one else but Missouri, so he could be a little more arrogant. "I don't want to say anything else. The bigger the breasts, the better. Can I give you a watermelon?" Missouri bared her teeth and hit Sugu on the head with the report. "You are hopeless." Sugu touched his head. He didn't mind. It was just a joke. He asked, "I didn't expect that Richelieu would accompany you to measure these things." "This is not a question of whether she wants it or not, this is a question of whether we want it or not," Missouri said. "Even if she turns into the Star Destroyer in Suk Bader's dream, we will still defeat her in front of so many of us." Sugu shook his head. "What a bunch of female hooligans." "Actually, Richelieu is very cooperative," Missouri said. "As long as you are a woman, it is impossible not to care about your figure and appearance." Sugu pretended to be unintentional and asked, "What about you too?" Of course, Missouri thought to herself, otherwise why would she exercise so much every day, control her diet, or pay attention to fashion? "Oh, that's it," Sugu said casually. "What are your measurements?" "Want to eat my mother's tofu?" "Missouri is not that easy to deal with, you are still a little young. It's no longer a game, it has a data panel, which is clear at a glance. Here, if you want to know the parameters of a ship girl, you must go through a lot of tests, and you may even need to use live ammunition. Of course, for the town government, this is not a problem. Everyone is familiar with how to test. There is also Zeppelin, who has been an instructor in the college for many years and can be said to be a veteran." Wanting to see how the test was going, Sugu came to the dock from the town guardhouse and found that there were already many people here. As soon as he stopped next to a cable pile, he noticed that someone was looking at him in a wrong way. "Hindenburg, what are you looking at?" "It's nothing," Hindenburg whispered. "Admiral, I heard that you are very good at fighting." It has been more than a year since Hindenburg came to the garrison, so he can be regarded as joining. Sugu said, if you have anything to say, just say it. Hindenburg hesitated for a while. Well, if we have time, we can discuss it. In an instant, Sugu came to his senses. He sighed and said, if you don't believe Missouri's lies, can you also believe her words? Have you suffered less at her hands? I thought it was a joke, but I didn't expect such rumors to actually spread in Missouri. I don't think it's okay, Hindenburg thought to himself. He won't suffer any loss anyway, and nothing will happen if he tries it. You don't have anything to do with it? I have something to do with it. I don't want to be beaten. Sugu just felt a little powerless and thought to himself, as long as he beat the admiral, he would believe such a ridiculous thing. I really should call you a stupid sister. Just after Hindenburg left, Sugu saw York City looking furtively this way again. He couldn't help shouting, York City, come here. York City turned his head and pretended not to know anything. Sugu only wanted to cause trouble for Missouri. He was still by his side when he came here, but when he looked at it, he no longer knew where he had gone. After testing for a long time, it was not until the afternoon that Sugu got the parameters of the Richelieu ship. Regardless of firepower, armor, and durability, there is no significant improvement in various data. The air defense has still been greatly improved. Sure enough, American black technology is not the same. It is not comparable to the Sankai mobile phone or the 96 Divine gun. One day, Richelieu was surrounded by everyone in the garrison, asking why he had grown and why he was being tested. Standing in the corridor of the dormitory building at night, Sugu was able to have a few words with her. He has finally grown up. Richelieu can easily defeat Hood now. It's not good yet, Richelieu said. The equipment is much worse. Hood's equipment is probably better than yours. Sugu naturally understood the situation of everyone in the guardhouse. She is Mk6, what am I? Her equipment is much better than mine. Richelieu smiled, so the admiral cannot take away the 4-length 380mm cannon that he just obtained. Sugu immediately thought of the big breeding companies in the game, and your equipment was nothing. He said, I won't rob it anymore. You have to know that even the B-25 of the Hornet has been returned to her. Then where is my original equipment? Richelieu asked. Is the admiral ready to return it to me? The Hornet had nothing but the B-25, and it couldn't be more miserable. Your equipment is not bad, so I really haven't considered returning it. Sugu was thinking like this. Before he spoke, Richelieu turned around and leaned against the railing. I'm just saying casually. You are the admiral, so you can make any arrangements. You must have your own considerations. We are a sister who guards the mansion has the same equipment no matter who she is. Sugu thought for a while and said, Richelieu, I feel that you have grown up, become more generous and confident. Have you ever been a petty person before? Richelieu asked. No. Sugu thought for a moment. To be precise, he is more generous, confident, and especially independent. Richelieu smiled brightly. I beat the admiral and the Hood. It doesn't feel bad. I feel bad. Sugu pretended to look aggrieved. Sorry about that. It's okay, I just want to say Sugu said, that guy from Missouri actually said that you beat me once, so he grew up. Then Hindenburg, York City, and several other idiots actually believed it. Richelieu also laughed a little. Sugu said, seriously, Richelieu, you actually hit me, and you beat me so badly. I didn't expect it. Don't you think you are a knight, and I, the admiral, am the lord? A knight would actually attack the lord? Isn't it right? Absolutely obey orders, even if it means risking death. Richelieu asked, isn't the admiral very familiar with the history of the old world? It's okay, Sugu said modestly. Richelieu asked, in your opinion, which country in the modern history of the old world had the most frequent revolutions? Richelieu must have meant something, and Sugu immediately thought of capturing the Bastille and starting from here. It seems that the number of French revolutions in modern history is really quite frequent. He said, so, if I, the admiral, cannot do my job well, then Richelieu will be overthrown. I didn't say that. Richelieu smiled slightly, and the sea breeze blew her skirt and golden hair. Nodding, Sugu didn't believe Richelieu would do that. But then I thought about it, not getting a response, and actually being bullied by Hood, which made me feel depressed to the extreme. It's not like Washington can still vent by bullying South Dakota and chopping up Nevada with an axe. After all, she couldn't do such a thing. Maybe it's really possible to become a deep-sea ship girl, then I don't know what will happen. Suddenly, people felt a little panicked. One hand crossed behind him and grabbed the small arm of the other hand. Richelieu asked, speaking of which, what does the admiral think of France and the French people? In an instant, Sugu thought of a lot. For example, no army had ever been able to capture Paris before France surrendered. For example, only dwarfs, women, and foreigners can save France. For another example, God gave the best piece of land to France, but later felt that it was unfair to other countries, so he created the French in this land. Otherwise, the Champs-Élysées, perfume, lovers, peasants, coldness, lateness, and not speaking English all combine to become French. Of course, this cannot be said. Sugu is not that stupid. He just said, I don't know much about it. I only know that France in the old world is a romantic country. Like, walking along the Seine River, wandering under the shade of the Champs-Élysées, slow drinking in the bar, coffee whispers in the museum. Flowers, candlelight, perfume, kisses. Richelieu said, if the admiral talks about romance, which is poetic and full of fantasy, I don't think so. If we talk about romance, romanticism should emphasize emotion, freedom, humanity, and pursuit, and has little to do with love. I learned it. Sugu nodded. But if it's romantic. Richelieu suddenly approached Sugu and whispered in his ear, Admiral, I like you, can you let me be your lover? Sugu was stunned, a little at a loss. Richelieu said, Admiral, are you romantic enough? Sugu didn't know how to answer and pursed his lips. Throughout the rest of the night, Sugu was tortured by Richelieu's words. But when I looked at her the next day, I couldn't see anything strange. All in all, time passed like this day by day. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 785. The deep-sea ship girl appears twice. Among them, Shinano went on a sortie once, and when she came back, she saw her face full of shame. It turned out that the carrier-based aircraft had suffered too many losses. Although he didn't say anything to his face, York City complained privately, Shinano is really stupid. Sugu immediately hit her on the head and scolded, this guy is not the same as your first attack. No way, York City retorted. She had studied systematically in the academy, and it had been several months since she had awakened before her first attack. And his personality is not like that of Shinano. He gets extremely nervous when he goes to the battlefield. Even though it was her first attack, she really didn't lose much. Sugu could only say, didn't you say that Shinano is your sister and junior, and you still complained about her? Even if she is a sister, Bumblebee is still a goose. York City thought to himself, there is no conflict, it is the time to take care of her, and the time to complain. One garrison encountered a strong enemy, and Bismarck led a team to help. Although there are only 2 deep-sea battleships, there are also several deep-sea destroyers. After being out for 2 days, Bismarck came back and said, I met someone I knew before. Who? Sugu knew that Bismarck used to be a ship's mercenary and was nicknamed the Black Ghost. He knew many people. You definitely don't know him. Not necessarily, Sugu said, then a man or a woman? A little girl. I didn't want to go at first, but I was dragged there by my sister. Baze, I said, my sister's admirer. It's amazing. Bismarck didn't even spare a little girl. Bismarck was expressionless. Although there was no puncture, there were still bruises. I said, Admiral, my sister and I can go into the canal together. She had nothing to do all day long, either sleeping or reading comics. All in all, Bai was a dead, lazy, and fat house. However, Sugu still liked her so much, so there was certainly some truth in it, and he understood people's hearts too well. But Bismarck was a little difficult to handle, and said to his sister in a cold tone, if you want to get into trouble with him, go ahead yourself. Forget it if you don't want to go, then I'll go. Tirpitz, Bismarck immediately grabbed his sister's back collar and said to Sugu, Admiral, please be a little self-conscious, okay? Nothing major happened, just a few things in the town hall. This is already many days since Richelieu grew up. On a sunny morning, Sugu just finished his work and chatted with Lexington for a while before leaving the office. Passing a row of coconut trees, he saw 3 Königsberg sisters standing together, each holding a can of beer. Unexpected Dumpling Exeter, and CV-16 is also nearby. As the Admiral, Cologne spotted him first and waved to him, Admiral. What are you looking at? Sugu came over and stood next to him, with Colin holding his arm. No answer needed, he had seen it. I saw Leipzig holding his camera and aiming it at the bald eagle Bellmachen standing on the stone pier with very sharp eyes. The work of managing the warehouse in the town hall was not much to begin with. After all, it could be done by one person in the past. Here comes Hayabusa, a well-behaved and capable girl. Here comes the kitchen goddess again, even if she only has supply sauce, her work ability is quite powerful. Even after quickly adapting to the work, a major renovation was carried out in the warehouse. Even though they are still the boss in name, Leipzig has now been isolated and plays with cameras all day long. Leipzig, why are you shooting this chatty eagle? Sugu asked out of curiosity until Leipzig finished the first phase of the work. Shut up, the bald eagle Bellmachen shouted, who do you call the chatty eagle? Do you know what you are doing? Do you know what I am doing? Model, do you know what a model is? Is that so? I don't think you understand either. Since you don't understand, just stand by and take a good look and don't ruin the atmosphere. If you are not my dearest Dumpling's favorite admiral, I will slap you with my big wings. Dumpling Essex blushed at the words of bald eagle Bellmachen. Sugu didn't have so many ideas. He just narrowed his eyes and threatened, when you wake up tomorrow morning, you will find that you are in a small black cage. I don't know who made the little black cage. She really deserves to go to the 18th level of hell. Don't let me find out, or I will teach her a lesson. I won't sleep. Don't try to put me in a small cage while I sleep. Black cage. Dumpling will protect me, who calls me her closest partner. We have lived together for many years, together every day, no matter day or night. Essex was wearing a white dress with billowing hems. She whispered, Belle, you're so long-winded and talkative. Cologne explained to Sugu, Leipzig wants to participate in the Sichuan show photography competition, so it asked Chatterbox Eagle to be a model. Although the town guardhouse is not big, there are many entertainment venues such as library, chess and card room, KTV, training room, coffee shop and so on. Sugu was still worried that everyone would be bored and hoped that everyone would find something to do. California is a writer. She has participated in many Sichuan show competitions and won many trophies. Bai used to be a cartoonist, but now he produces and sells his own comics. The Queen likes to knit, and Javelin will take her small handicrafts to Sichuan show every once in a while to sell them. Scharnhorst recently learned paper cutting from Yuxian, and he is still a beginner, but no one likes to travel, usually to the nearby cities of Zhuangzhou and Fujian. It is rare to go farther. As a ship girl, she is unwilling to leave the admiral. Sugu shook his head and asked, Leipzig, Why did you find such a chatty eagle as a model? Can't you find anyone else? Photos don't speak for themselves anyway, Leipzig replied. Sugu nodded, that's right, the bald eagle Belmacan was still very handsome, but he just ruined everything with his mouth. But it's finally over. Leipzig patted his clothes, sometimes squatting, sometimes lying down, taking pictures from various angles, inevitably collecting a lot of dust. When Sugu saw her, he remembered. When I asked her to take wedding photos for me, not to mention the framing, in order to take an excellent photo, she would sleep on the ground and shoot upwards, climb up a tree and shoot downwards. Of course, I was also tortured a lot. After all, there were too many wedding ships. Admiral, Admiral, what are you doing? Seeing Sugu, several little Lolita playing around naturally ran over, the big mackerel said. I didn't do anything. Sugu also saw a few little Lolita, and an idea flashed in his mind, I haven't taken photos with the big mackerel or archer fish yet. No, then let's take pictures, Admiral. The big mackerel stretched out his hand towards Sugu. Of course Sugu knew what the big mackerel meant. He immediately bent down and let the big mackerel hug his neck, and then picked up the big mackerel. Leipzig. No need to talk if there is no money after all. Leipzig still raised the camera. After taking a picture, Sugu hugged the big mackerel princess. When Colin's eyes grew hot, Sugu put an arm around the big mackerel's waist, picked her up and placed her on his waist. The big mackerel has its limbs hanging down, like a dead fish. After taking several pictures, I finished taking pictures of the big mackerel, and it was the turn of the archerfish. I wanted to. The energetic U-47 will naturally not miss it. When Sugu took a lot of photos with several little Lolita, Leipzig put away the camera. Okay, let's end it, Lolita control. However, Sugu's expression was serious. Leipzig, you can leave, but give me the camera. What do you want? Leipzig said. Don't mess up the camera. Too much nonsense. Sugu took the camera from Leipzig's hand and played with it. Although it is not a point-and-shoot camera, he has learned how to operate it without any problems. Big mackerel, archerfish, U-47, U-81, U-505, you all sit together. Sugu saw Sukufu again. She was no longer a local girl. Since she changed her hairstyle to a wavy hairstyle, she is now an out-and-out beautiful little beauty. Sukuf, let me think about it. Okay, you sit on the right side of the archerfish. M1, you sit on the right side of U-81. Always feeling unsatisfied and having to put in a lot of effort to arrange it, Sugu squatted on the ground, raised his camera and shouted, eggplant. Eggplant. Big mackerel and U-47 shouted the loudest. There was a clicking sound, and Sugu took a picture. He lowered his head and suddenly thought of something, don't move. When Leipzig saw Sugu's movements, he couldn't help but curiously asked, Admiral, what are you taking pictures of? Can you take pictures of their whole bodies like this? You can only take pictures of their legs. Yes, only the legs can be photographed. What are you doing by patting your legs? Sugu held the camera and was silent for a long time. Leipzig, can you tell who is who just by looking at their legs? Leipzig glanced at the little Lolita, and she shook her head, no. I can do it, Sugu thought to himself, but actually it was not enough to just look at the feet, he also needed to see the skirt. Leipzig mused. Sugu took the camera and glanced at several little Lolita. Because I didn't go swimming in the sea, I didn't wear a bikini or swim in the water, so I wore good clothes. Everyone just sat side by side on the stone pier. Obviously I didn't ask anyone to lift their skirts or do anything excessive. I have never thought about this, he is not such a scumbag. Then there was nothing wrong with the photo I took. I didn't take it under the skirt, but it somehow made me feel a bit more gentlemanly. When I graduated from college, I planned to take 2 graduation photos like this, but in the end I didn't, because it felt like a few grown men were really inappropriate. Sugu directed several little Lolita to sleep on the grass, with their heads next to each other in a circle. There was no way to describe how cute they all were. He held the camera and looked down, just taking a photo, feeling more and more like a gentleman. Leipzig stood aside. The admiral still knows how to play. Sugu still felt a little uneasy about his conscience, so he returned the camera to Leipzig. U-47 Ghost, Admiral, are we obedient? Tell a story U-47, you haven't told it in a long time. The serious story involves Zeppelin. Sugu knew very well that U-47 wanted to listen to the devil and change the fairy tale. He thought for a while and said, bring the storybook. U-47 ran away quickly and came back quickly. Sugu picked up the fairy tale book and decided to compile it now. In fact, he really wanted to talk about Cinderella Veneto, the evil sister Roma, the Empire, and the fairy godmother Firefly, or the match seller Veneto and her 3 matches, but he finally held back. After all, if you don't seek death, you won't die. He hesitated for a long time. In the dark night, thunder rumbled, and the winding lightning was like a silver snake dancing wildly. The little girl fought all the way and defeated the last enemy. At this time, there was blood dyeing her cloak red. She got a nickname, Little Red Riding Hood. Sugu talked, and when the lunch bell rang, he closed the book and said, I know what will happen next, please listen to the explanation next time. The big mackerel got excited and asked quickly, when will the next time be? U-47 said, next Children's Day. Sugu then thought, yes, it's almost Children's Day. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 786. Whether it's Spring Festival, Valentine's Day, or Mid-Autumn Festival, you don't have to worry about any festival, but Children's Day is absolutely indispensable. Okay, it's still a bit exaggerated, too exaggerated. All in all, I listened to U-47 at noon. During lunch, Sugu went to Lexington and mentioned, it's almost Children's Day. Knowing very well what her admiral was thinking, Lexington smiled like a little devil. She said longingly, I still remember the last Children's Day. The governor's mansion was decorated with lights and colorful decorations. There were performances, quizzes, and all kinds of activities. Everyone had a really good time, and even when I think about it now, I still feel the laughter. Lexington, stop talking. Sugu couldn't eat anymore, with a regretful expression on his face. Of course he heard about it. Last year's Children's Day event was quite exciting. After all, everyone praised it. However, I was not in the town hall at the time, but was looking for everyone outside, so I was unable to participate. Fortunately, we found Veneto and others, otherwise we would have suffered a big loss. Let's also hold a Children's Day event this year. Lexington took the initiative. Of course, Sugu's goal has always been to build the best garrison and bring happiness and joy to everyone. In this case, such a festival cannot be missed. On the rare occasion when she got to Lexington, she said, preparing gifts is the most troublesome. Yes, Sugu held his chin with one hand, also feeling a little worried. Since it is Children's Day, every little loli needs a gift. This is the most basic requirement. Not only that, there are also various activities where prizes need to be prepared. In order to mobilize everyone's enthusiasm and encourage everyone to perform, as long as you participate, you can get additional gifts. Of course, if a big pot of rice is very important, the program will naturally have to be judged. The rankings are from low to high, from consolation prizes to grand prizes. You can't just wait and see with bonuses. You must be careful and not casual. Anyway, the two of them easily determined that the town government would hold a Children's Day event, and an announcement was made in the afternoon. Children's Day, Children's Day, Children's Day, Children's Day. Gifts, 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 gifts. Standing in front of the bulletin board, the little loli was naturally very excited. York is also watching, activities. Ha ha ha, York City was very excited, our American team must be number one. Prince Eugene shook his head, no, 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 you are overthinking. Victory belongs to our German team. It seems that Children's Day has nothing to do with adults. In fact, there are shadows of adults behind the little loli show. The little loli does it for gifts, the adults do it for face. Therefore, wherever there are people, there are rivers and lakes. This is Veneto's room. What show are we going to perform? Camicia sat on the bed, hugging her lover like a gangster boss, and hugging her sister, the little devil Aviel. Vaudeville, I think this is very good. Andrea took off her shoes and was sitting on a chair with her legs crossed. Her bejeweled toes moved, and her hands grasped her feet alternately. She seemed very excited. In order to help the daily team win first place, she racked her brains, breathing fire, walking on stilts, riding a unicycle, and what is it called, throwing up and catching the balls one by one, throw it up and catch that. Ko thought of the street performances the two of them had watched in Chuangzhou with his sister. I just remember that I watched and listened to the whole afternoon of some people praise me personally, and rich people praise me financially. In the end, my sister didn't reward me, so she threw some money away. She looked at the little Lolita girls and shook her head, they don't. Andrea also knew that it was a bit difficult. Without years of hard practice, it would be impossible to do it. She gave up the idea, and then had an idea and said, then let's perform magic. It feels like a good idea. Wearing a small suit, holding a small hand stick, and a magic hat. Take off the hat, and pick up a rabbit from one to the other. A pigeon turns into a lot of candies and distributes them to everyone. If you don't get first place, there must be something shady. It's very difficult. Kyo often watched Princeton's performances in the coffee shop, and occasionally asked out of curiosity what was going on. It's not that particular. Princeton doesn't mind revealing the secrets and even teaches everyone a few magic tricks. Stirring her golden ponytail with her fingers, Andrea still knew something. She said, I know that poker magic requires hand speed and is difficult. But for other magic tricks, you only need to have mechanisms and props, and then simply practice. But we don't have any mechanism props, Kyo said. Andrea affirmed, there must be rabbits. Ko thought for a while, but she is from the American family. It is impossible to lend her to us, otherwise she would be a traitor. We are all sisters. If you ask her to borrow a prop, you won't be reluctant to part with it, Andrea said, you are not that stingy. Traitor. Although she also wants the grand prize, the little loli is not that serious about winning. The big Lolita Antonio laughed and rolled on the bed, sir, go this way, I will lead you. Andrea scolded Antonio for a moment, wondering if asking the American team to borrow props at this time was a sign of weakness. Then she looked at her sister with dissatisfaction, and she kept singing the opposite tune, Ko, you are very capable. Tell me, what kind of show should we perform? Kyo saw his sister's eager eyes and thought that what he said made sense. Really, I just know how to vent my anger on myself. She felt a little aggrieved. How about dancing? Do you think they can? This time it was Andrea's turn. Cantata, Kyo sang softly, on the banyan tree by the pond, cicadas are singing about summer, on the swing by the playground, only butterflies are sitting on it. Although there were many out-of-tune parts, the girl's voice was actually very good. Andrea said, it doesn't sound good, so stop singing. Cross-stalk, Kyo thought for a moment, or maybe it's a double act. You are getting more and more stupid. How could these two of them do this? Why do I have a sister like you? Andrea started nagging. I usually ask you to read more books, but you don't want to. I follow you every day. I practice skateboarding in California and sit on the pier every day to feed the seagulls. The whole day goes by Mr. Seagull, Mr. Seagull, Mr. Seagull. You know all the seagulls here in the town hall, Ada, Aer, Asan, Asi. What a boobs, where did the brainless people grow up after eating so much every day? Ko lowered her head. She now understood that her sister was jealous. Ugolini was sleeping on the bed, hugging the pillow, looking full of lust. She was like a brat. We can bribe the admiral and send Sister Ko to the admiral to warm the bed. As long as this is the case, even if we perform casually, you can get first place in one go. Andrea looked at her sister up and down, held her chin and nodded. Good idea. Kamichia was quite unruly. Be on the safe side and give Aviel to the admiral as well. Sister Aviel felt like he was just sitting at home, and trouble came from the sky. Kamichia said to herself, as long as the price is right, isn't my sister just for selling? My sister, whether it's Lexington, Xianghe, or Bismarck. Each of them is gentle and considerate, and is so kind to his sister that her sister wants to pluck all the stars in the sky. Look at my sister again. Even if she is not so gentle, she actually thinks about how to give her sister as a gift. Kaio and Aviel showed aggrieved expressions. Admirals like uniforms. Ugolini sucked a lollipop. Of course the little devil Aviel wants to cosplay as the little devil. If it is Sister Ko, the Christmas costume for Christmas will be fine. You can also wear a swimsuit called the Daughter of the Sea. To avoid a long night and many dreams, we will call the Admiral over tonight, and then Sister Ko and Aviel can take action. Andrea sat at the desk and slapped the tabletop. What a great idea. A glass of milk every morning and evening is absolutely indispensable. Although the possibility is very low, I can't give up like that. In fact, Veneto still likes coffee and never leaves his cup. At this moment, she was sitting on a chair with her legs crossed and rubbing her forehead with her hands. I thought that all the little Lolita in other people's homes were so cute, innocent, and sensible, but my own home was simply a mess. There's no competition yet, so I'm thinking about how to bribe the judges, and I don't even mind betraying my sister. Although the effect may be good, it really doesn't work. She coughed and said, let's just perform the story. There are still a few days until Children's Day. Just practice it every afternoon. Although she was in high spirits just now, when the eldest sister opened her mouth, the younger sister Kamichia jumped out immediately. It's decided, let's perform the story. Whoever dares to object should walk over my corpse first. With such a karmicha, Veneto was so happy that he wanted to cry. So, do you have any story recommendations? Ko interjected, there must be a moral to this story. It should teach people to work hard, be honest, and be fair. Veneto said, there is no need to be so particular, as long as everyone is happy. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Andrea suggested. This is a classic fairy tale. No, Ko said, we don't have that many people. Andrea glared at her sister again. Ugolini had many ideas, Romeo and Juliet. Veneto shook her head quickly. She was really worried about the little guys in her family. I'm really afraid of what will happen on the stage, so it's better to tell a serious story. The Wizard of Oz. There are exactly 4 of you, Dorothy, the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Lion. Kamichia shook her head, not good. Kamichia would actually oppose him. Veneto was greatly puzzled. Why? Who is Sister Veneto playing the role of? Aviel thought for a while and said, villain. Kaio said, there will also be a narrator, and Veneto can be the narrator. To a certain extent, I have become accustomed to Carmichael. In fact, the main reason is that I have no way to deal with this guy. Veneto looked at Aviel and Kaio. thinking that he thought you were the most serious. Why are you joining in the fun? Me, I'm not a child, and I still want to participate in the Children's Day performance. Please, I'm the referee. She saw the breasts of the two people again, and their shoulders were hunched. She could no longer suppress her anger, and said gloomily, Aviaire, Kaliot, well said. But the performance is important, and bribing the admiral is indispensable. Use both hands. You have to grab it, both hands have to be hard. Just the two of you, tie the ribbon tonight. The Italian team was already fighting among themselves before it even started. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 787. The complex building of the Tutelary residence has several floors. Even though there are cafes, classrooms, offices, art studios, Kaohsiung noodle restaurants, etc., there are still many vacant rooms. One of the vacant rooms was cleared and temporarily used as a rehearsal room. At this time, Sugu was standing in the corridor, looking in from the window. I saw Sigsby sitting on a small bench reading the script, while Mahan and his sister Cushing were making props for the performance with scissors and tape. Well, Quincy was holding a big can of popcorn and eating it. With her long blue hair tied up and a fringed hairpin, Helena looked like a married woman. Brother-in-law with a peaked cap on his head and a large trumpet made of a rolled book in his hand, Director Saratoga always takes the lead in asking Sugu, "Are you here?" After leaving the rehearsal room, Sugu sat on the stone pier. He saw Xiazai, Z-Driver, and U-Boat sitting cross-legged on the grass. Often an instructor, now a primary school teacher, Zeppelin stood beside him and was talking. Prince Eugen was also there, and she interrupted from time to time. Leipzig and the three Königsberg sisters each had a can of beer as usual. They stood on the periphery, each one looking quite mad, and their iron-blooded style did not match the surroundings. With medium-long pink hair draped over her shoulders, the fleshy Blucher looked particularly cute. Sue asked her, "Why don't you see your sister hipper?" Blucher put his hands behind his back. "She is watching Fireflies in the British department. She is so hopeless that she is like this. Aren't you and the British team rivals?" Blucher spread his hands. "There is nothing we can do against her." Sugu looked around again. Deutsch, Scheer, and Spee didn't see it either. They said they were not children. Sugu was shocked. "Forget it about Desi and Scheer, how can Sipe not be a child anymore?" "Because my sister won't participate, Spee doesn't want to participate in the show either. Smoking, drinking, dyeing my hair, but I'm still a good girl." Sugu didn't believe it before, but now he believes it, just like the Desi sisters. To be honest, Sugu really wanted to rub Sipe's face, hold her, make her say Kuma, Kuma, and watch her perform Seongji and her friends. He asked curiously, "Where did Sipe run away?" "I saw her with Master Su and Odin this morning." Blucher thought for a moment. "I've been with Mr. Su and Odin all day." "She's not a child, she's a young girl," Sugu said. "I remember that Mr. Su and Odin also had to perform. Could it be that Sipe wanted to participate with them?" Blucher shook his head. "I don't know." "Are you confident of winning?" Sugu stood up and was going to look elsewhere. "How can we lose?" Blucher's face lit up. She was always mysteriously confident. Sugu said, "We lost last year." Blucher explained, "It was an accident. There are many people here in the British department and it is lively. There are only a few people in the legal system, so I don't know what kind of program they are going to prepare." Anyway, when Sugu saw Utopia, she was still running wildly. "There is no program at all on the fishery administration ship. Ningyi and Pinghai are targeting special chefs and are not interested in these at all. As for Changchun, if there is no growth, just be bold." Now with her figure, she really can't be called a child. Even if he is married, there is no pressure at all, just like Fletcher. Day by day passed, and soon there were only 2 days left before Children's Day. Sugu went to Chuangziu, mainly for purchasing. Even though the event was held last year, some items can be reused. Such as conical hats, pinwheels, pennants, etc., you can make them yourself. However, some consumables, such as shiny ribbons, balloons, etc., are not stocked in the warehouse and must be purchased again. In addition, various gifts need to be prepared. Firefly no longer wanted the scarf and decided to give her the glow stick magic wand. Lafite's gift was a new bat, but she certainly wasn't using it to play baseball. There are also prizes to buy. It was initially decided that the consolation prize would be a box of chocolates for everyone, the final prize would be an animal doll, and the better prize would be a bigger doll without any intention. I have to say that the Admiral Circle is quite united. Those admirals who no longer work on the front line and have retired, or shops opened by ship girls. If possible, as admirals, everyone prefers to go there to buy things. In fact, it is not just for this reason. Being able to become an admiral and a ship girl has a bottom line and a good character. It is impossible for a general garrison to be without destroyers. After all, as long as the garrison is run for a few years, destroyers that are numerous and easy to obtain will come like that. Of course, Africans have nothing to do. Then, you can be stern, you can be majestic, but if a person uses a ship girl as a weapon, he will be screened out during the interview at the academy, and it is impossible to become an admiral. Because of this, outside Chuangziu's store, Sugu met several admirals. They all came to make purchases in order to let the destroyers in the garrison have a happy Children's Day. Lolakan. Sugu turned around and saw Eugene, which felt like a coincidence. He saw that the other party originally had short hair and kept it long, but now it has become medium-long hair. He retorted, Lolakan. Noticing Sugu looking around, Eugene asked, "What are you looking at?" "Well, where is Mutsu?" Sugu said. "Hasn't she thought about fulfilling her promise? Don't mention it every time we meet. It's very annoying." "Okay." Mutsu, who looked angry, patted Sugu's shoulder from behind. Her expression was a little annoyed, but not disgusting or disgusting. "You dare to act bravely," Sugu said with a smile. "It's obviously been agreed upon." Without any idea in this regard, Mutsu smiled and said, "Well, since you want to, you can go ahead and book a hotel now." Sugu pretended to be surprised, his narrowed eyes widened instantly. "Really? Really?" Mutsu said angrily. Both of them laughed, especially Mutsu, who was so happy that his branches quivered with laughter. Eugene saw it in her eyes and said, "Don't be like this. Why do you feel like I'm the master of suffering?" Mutsu, Prince Eugene, and San Juan, who came out with Sugu and were in charge of purchasing, were gone. Sugu and Eugene stood at the door of the store, chatting. "I recently caught another ship girl. Mutsu went out in the morning and brought her back in the evening," Eugene showed off proudly. "Who?" When Sugu thought of it, he felt helpless. "I guard the mansion and rely almost entirely on the ship girl to bring it back. Simply relying on defeating the deep-sea ship girl, and then fishing out the ship girl, there is only one Lan. It's obviously been so long, even though the area around the garrison is quite safe, and there are very few deep-sea ship girls appearing. But Bismarck and the others went out to help, or put out fires, quite a few times. You must know that even if they go to help, as long as they sink the deep sea, the ship girl found belongs to the garrison. Speaking of which, it is precisely because of this that under normal circumstances, a garrison does not like to ask people to help unless necessary. You must resolve matters in your own waters by yourself." Hillman Eugene said, "Let me tell you, he's super cute. I have 7 fish now. If you come to my guard house, I can introduce you to the big mackerel and the archer fish." Sugu is not an easy person to deal with. He dug into his pockets again, but found nothing, and felt regretful for a while. I thought to myself that I didn't bring the photos I took just a few days ago, otherwise I could show this guy and see Yan Yi. You are a dog, right? Yujin felt that his good mood was ruined because there were so many fish. Sugu smiled and suddenly asked, is your Bai Shui considered a child? Does she want to celebrate Children's Day? Of course I won't celebrate Children's Day, she is a wife. Sugu said, just a young wife. She won't participate anyway. It's better for you, female admiral, to marry a destroyer as you please. Yujin teased, you can do it too, you just need a knife and endure the pain. You are really dirty. Sugu shook his head. You have the nerve to tell me. Speaking of, what's going on with Plan M, consultant Sug. He remembered that this girl was forcibly promoted to the position of captain of the gendarmerie by Hipper. Now she occasionally visits the garrison, and she is still quite familiar. It's been a long time since she last came to the garrison, and she didn't know what she was doing. She's like that anyway, but her out-of-touch personality seems to have changed a bit recently. I saw her a few days ago and heard that she was responsible for something, I don't remember. Yujin opened her hood with both hands. On her chest, she felt so flat that she didn't realize it. I just noticed that her breasts were getting bigger and bigger. Hearing this, Sugu said expressionlessly, don't say this to me. Ha 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 ha. Sugu looked at Yujin, who was smiling wantonly, and thought to himself, he knew so many admirals, but there were only two familiar people, so the two of them seemed to get along quite well. In contrast, there is very little contact with the seniors from the guardhouse who were former interns. Thinking of this, he asked curiously, Chen Nan, brother Chen, how is he? It's still the same. Yujin knew what Sugu wanted to know. She said, I'm not married yet. I don't know what he thinks. Sometimes I really want to give him a good beating for West Virginia. Oh, what a bastard. He used to be a soldier, and I heard he had performed very dangerous missions in the army. He was very brave, but now he's just like a coward. You must have your own ideas. Sugu really couldn't comment. As the saying goes, it is difficult for an upright official to deal with household affairs. Their daughter Komaki is getting more and more beautiful. Yujin saw Sugu's strange look in his eyes. Why are you looking at me like that? I only have thoughts about destroyers. Sugu said, the more you explain, the more perverted you feel. Kill you. Yujin said, Komaki, she is very close to West Virginia. I feel that when she grows up, she may become an admiral again, a beautiful female admiral. Sugu said, she is only a few years old, she is still very old. Yujin looked at the sky, thinking that he couldn't wait to reach his 30s in a few years. A woman in her 30s has really turned into an old woman. You're such a bastard, you don't want to be a middle-aged woman admiral. She sighed for a while and asked Sugu, speaking of which, is there an indomitable to go to your garrison? Sugu was confused, no, what should I say? That's what I heard. Yujin thought for a while, there must be such a thing as the indomitable. She heard that your garrison at Akage, Lexington, Saratoga, and so on were very strong, so she wanted to challenge them. He also said that if they can defeat her, she is willing to become your ship girl. Because only the admiral who is best at cultivating ship girls, the strongest admiral, is worthy of her. When an admiral pursues a ship girl, naturally one of the ship girls takes the initiative to seek out the admiral. Sugu had heard about it a long time ago. Some ship girls took the initiative to approach the garrison, hoping to join. Of course, this was rare. He replied, no, no one comes to my townhouse. Ha ha ha, as long as she comes, I will let her never return. What's so good to be happy about? Yujin laughed, that one, okay, I heard she is very beautiful. But her personality is quite bad. Many admirals are annoyed when they see her and don't want her at all. They were saying things like, you can't do this, don't be so impatient, take your time, be more graceful, and I've known it for a long time anyway. She was very arrogant and self-righteous, as if she had everything under her control. It's obvious that she's not very good, but she seems to be somewhat good at it. In short, she looks down on this one, looks down on that one, and deserves a beating. In that kind of cartoon, the most despised and disgusted noble lady is the one. Consultant Su, does it mean he deserves more beatings than Long Xiang? It's really hard to say, Eugene said. Well, let me think about it. Judging from the expression of the admiral who told me about this matter, I think he deserves a beating more than your Long Xiang. Anyway, if she finding you is definitely not a good thing. So exaggerated, Sugu said. I've never seen it, so I don't know. That is. I remember there was a formidable number in the academy. She had a pretty good personality. They were all brilliant. Does she have something to do with that indomitable? After Sugu finished speaking, he thought of Colossus. I still have to go to the academy in the afternoon and call Colossus. Although it is only a Children's Day event, adults can also participate, and it is still very lively. Eugene shook his head. I don't know. Speaking of which, the Soviet Union, Sugu heard it from someone on the cruise ship, and later heard about many things, but never went to see it. It was said that she joined the garrison after drinking and won. Someone won. How is it possible to outdrink that guy? He drank vodka like water. Eugene made a drinking gesture and said, tons, 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 one bottle is finished. Tons, tons, one bottle is finished. No matter what the mission is, no matter how many enemies there are, a bottle of vodka will last forever. Just do it, no matter who it is, you won't be afraid. It's scary, Sugu said. After all, it's a Mazi boat. That's right, Eugene suddenly remembered something and asked, where is your small house? Sugu replied, she is rehearsing at the town guard mansion. Little house, Tirpitz, young Tirpitz, Eugene said. Do you know young Rodney? Looking for the lost ship girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 788. Standing at the door of the store, Sugu waved goodbye to Eugene. There is no way, everyone's destination will be different next. Sichuangzhou is originally a city located on an island in the south, and it is already close to June. As summer enters, the temperature has already risen significantly. San Juan was just wearing a sleeveless white dress, dressed like a high school girl. The morning sun was bright, passing through the gaps between the dense canopy of trees and reflecting spots on her body on the floor tiles. Tape, balloons, paint. At this time, she took out a piece of paper from her pocket, and saw many delicate small words densely written on it. It was actually a list of what she needed to buy for the Sichuan show. Things. After all, no matter what, a good memory is not as good as a bad writing. It would be terrible if you accidentally forget something you didn't buy. Speaking of which, among the four cat-eared sisters, Atlanta has an out-of-touch personality, Juno is arrogant, and Santiago is naturally stupid. She is the most serious. Prince Eugene walked behind Sugu with his hands behind his back. She recalled the scene she saw in the morning. Admiral, are you familiar with that Mutsu? Well enough. I wonder where our Mutsu is, Prince Eugene said, thinking to himself that there is always a mysterious connection between the admiral and the ship girl. Even if they are separated and scattered around the world, they will always meet because of various coincidences. Otherwise, if you were an ordinary person, it would be like looking for a needle in a haystack, and you may never meet again in your life. I was very concerned about it at first. After all, judging from the vertical painting, she is a sexy big sister, and judging from the lines, she is quite flirtatious. However, at this time, Sugu answered a little absent-mindedly, I don't know. She looks nothing like us Mutsu. Well, there is still a bit of a resemblance. The noses are similar. But she is not as sexy as us Mutsu. She is a little more serious even though we haven't seen each other for a long time, Prince Eugen. I still have some impression of Mutsu. Sugu had never seen what his Mutsu looked like, so he simply responded, "Oh. What's her name?" Prince Eugen asked curiously. In addition to the name of the battleship inherited, of course each ship girl has her own name. Sugu said casually, "It seems to be called Yuji, after her Admiral Eugen." "Caviar," Prince Eugen said, "how can it have such a strange name?" "Are you stupid?" Sugu smiled and said, "The first word is cursive and the next word is stop. Lexington and Saratoga are called Shenyun and Shenxia." "Why don't they have the same last name as you?" Prince Eugen said, "It seems that many people don't have the same last name as you, San Juan, Qin Ying, you. Why did you choose such a name?" San Juan finally went through the list, confirming what he had bought and what he still needed. She folded the list and put it away. "I have many names. Sometimes I change my name when I change my job. But when I met the Admiral, I happened to be called Qin Ying, and that's how I continued to be called." "Yours the name is Vera, and why?" "No reason, I picked one casually. If it's not a ship girl, she has to take the Admiral's surname. It varies from person to person." Sugu thought for a while. "You don't have to believe me, the name is just a code name." "That's okay, otherwise everyone would have the surname Su, and it would feel a bit strange for so many people." "Well, the little house should be called Suzayazai," Prince Eugen said. "Admiral, would you name her this as your daughter?" Sugu came to his senses and said firmly, "Sister." After crossing the road and crossing the bridge, after talking for a while, Prince Eugen asked Sugu, "Admiral, you seem to be a little absent-minded. Have it?" As if something fell on his head, Prince Eugen lowered his head and brushed his hair. San Juan also noticed it. She keenly noticed that her Admiral was looking around all the way. "Admiral, are you looking for something?" Sugu said, "I didn't find anything." Prince Eugen asked doubtfully, "Really not?" As a new city, Sichuangziu has almost no local residents, and most of them are gold mining immigrants. Yellow skin, white skin, black hair, silver hair, blonde hair, red hair, you name it. Sugu saw a little blonde loli standing next to a big stone lion, wearing a white shirt and blue skirt, holding a marshmallow, so he paid more attention. Just when she wanted to see how her face looked and whether it was cute, a figure suddenly blocked her view. "What are you looking at?" Prince Eugen turned his head and said, "Admiral, don't go too far." Prince Eugen's voice was filled with deep helplessness. Sugu felt that he had been misunderstood. Only then did he know the explanation. "I was chatting with Eugen just now. She said that someone saw the young Rodney in Chuangziu. It was Luo Denny." Since Sugu didn't have Rodney, Prince Eugen naturally didn't know. She said, "Is it like a baby battleship, like a small house?" "Yes. So I kept an eye out along the way, wondering if I could encounter him." Sugu thought to himself, it was a pity that he got into the trap too late. He missed Children's Day and Rodney. Of course, there is still a way to get it later, but it requires a wicked trophy, which is the sky-high price of 180 pairs of underwear in exchange. At that time, the hero aircraft had not been replaced, but fighters with relatively good attributes, 12 and 13 anti-aircraft, had been replaced. Well, Prince Eugen's Christmas outfit change is a must, and he's the first one to change. It's so cute. All in all, Rodney didn't change. However, I have to say that although she is not as good as Xiaozai, she is still quite cute. Especially his pure and innocent character. Thinking of that vow line makes people feel guilty. Unlike many little Lolita, she is not as big as a brat. She's obviously only a little tall, but she's still trying to figure out whether her breasts are big or not. For example, the big mackerel is worried about the big breasts of his younger sister, the archer fish, and is extremely jealous. What's more, he can still seduce people at such a young age. That's right, understood. Prince Eugen nodded and walked away. This time Sugu saw that little Loli, she looked very cute. But not cute enough, not sweet enough, definitely not Rodney. San Juan asked, Admiral, do you want Rodney? I didn't say that. Sugu looked at the expressions of Prince Eugen and San Juan, his shoulders slumped. Okay, if possible, I still want it. Prince Eugen said, you admit it? It's not a big deal, it's like a crime. Sugu said, again, if an admiral doesn't think about fishing, what's the difference between fishing and salted fish? Okay, okay, okay. San Juan asked curiously, where did you meet Mendini? Sugu said, let's talk about that side of Haven Road. Shall we wait? No, he walked past a fire hydrant and patted it with multiple hands. Although I want to go and see it, I don't know if I can encounter it. But everyone still has a lot of things to do, and Sugu is not so ignorant. I heard from Eugene, and she also heard from others. At that time, Mengdeni took chalk to draw graffiti on the ship's uniform, so he was able to identify it through the ship's uniform. Come out. But I was with an adult, so I couldn't strike up a conversation. Prince Eugen said, is there an admiral already? I don't know. Sugu said, Mengdeni called that person sister, not admiral. Prince Eugen smiled, no matter what you call it, I don't think you have a chance. Not necessarily, people's imaginations are very rich, Sugu said, in our garrison, haven't Nelson and Rodney returned yet? Did you mean? Sugu thought for a while. Andrea brought his sister Ko, and Archerfish brought Shinano back to the town hall. If it's Nelson and Rodney, how about bringing Rodney with them? Veneto also did not bring his sister Rome and Empire back to the garrison. Sugu laughed and said, I think it's not that Veneto can't do it, it's that she doesn't want to see her sister at all. It would be great if she can avoid being beaten to death. I want to live together and take her back to the town hall. The Prince of Wales did not bring his sister, King George V, or his sister, the Duke of York, back to the garrison. Prince Eugen said, also, Scharnhorst did not bring Gneisenau back to the garrison. San Juan interjected, Fletcher. Sugu said, Fletcher, you are really difficult for me. How is this possible with so many sisters? San Juan said, it would be nice to have a Claxton, a Dyson, or a Converse, but there is none. Sugu took a deep breath. Actually, I still hope that U-47, U-81, and U-505 will go out sometime, and then bring the Foodie U-96 and the Little Angel U-156 back to the guardhouse. Thinking too much? Prince Eugen shook his head. Really, I think, Nelson, Rodney, and Rodney's family are still somewhat possible. Sugu thought about it carefully. Sister Nelson is a policeman. Well, I feel like she is good as a policeman. Looks like. Then my sister Rodney is a high school English teacher. Yes, she must be an English teacher. I have a daughter, Mengdeni, and a family of 3 lives in a small city. It's Children's Day, and the sisters brought their daughters to Sichuanjiu. Haha, that's it this way, it's absolutely perfect. Cheering for himself, he spread his fingers to cover his face, almost sneering as if he was suffering from a secondary disease. It's still a secondary disease. If Amethyst was here, she would have jumped for joy, but Prince Eugen and San Juan looked disgusted. Prince Eugen said, Daifeng is a talented beautiful girl writer, but I think she is not as good as you. I think so too. Sugu said, wish. If you say your wish, it won't work. You too. Sugu said, if you offend the admiral, you won't be able to reap any good fruits in the future. Prince Eugen and San Juan had bright smiles on their faces, thinking that being by the admiral's side meant they were happy. Sugu looked at the sky and suddenly thought of something. Admiral, what are you thinking about? I remembered seeing the Victory at the front line base. It was dressed like Nelson. Sugu explained briefly. I thought to myself that the ship girl had been awakened since she first appeared, and to a certain extent she was already at the level of an old woman. But she still looks good, especially the tear mole at the corner of her eye, which adds a bit of charm. He is still a very good instructor. Even if he attends classes in Prestige or Colorado, he can learn a lot. I really want to pick it up and take it back to the town guard house. Sure enough, Nelson and Rodney were called to kidnap him later. Prince Eugen saw something from Sugu's expression, and she said, "What a greedy man." "This is called ambition," Sugu said. "A man cannot do without ambition." Oops. Afterwards, everyone went to buy gifts and walked many places in Chuangziu. I didn't see Mendini until I left in the afternoon. But I didn't have much thought at first, so I wasn't disappointed. Time flies quickly, preparations, decorations, busyness. Children's Day is here. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 789. It's Children's Day. Thanks to the good weather, the sky is blue and the sun is shining brightly. Otherwise, like a few days ago, it rained and it was still windy from the south. Everything was wet and the clothes couldn't dry. Otherwise, it would be terrible. They had just had breakfast and the activities had not started yet. Sugu was walking inside the governor's mansion. He didn't feel much at first, but now he looked at the eaves with colorful flags and the walls with the words Happy Children's Day written in chalk, and couldn't help but sigh, Children's Day. With her long blue hair tied up, Helena happened to pass by. She said funnily, "Admiral, you look like you miss me very much." I also had a childhood. Sugu thought to himself that now that he was in his 20s, he really couldn't remember too many things that happened in elementary school. There are only a few things to remember about Children's Day besides having a holiday and having fun. I remember visiting the college early on Children's Day one year, and then I found an owl in the flower bed outside the classroom. After hesitating back and forth for a long time, he finally plucked up the courage to grab it, and then, with the persuasion of his classmates, he quickly took it home and put it away. After all, the school is less than 5 minutes away from home, even for children. I originally wanted to raise it well, but unfortunately, my parents thought the owl's hoot was unlucky, so they released it in the wild at night. I don't know what the final result will be. I was still young at that time, and later when I was a senior, I bought an owl for 5 yuan. When I didn't want to keep it anymore, I sold it to my classmate's uncle's restaurant for 15 yuan, and finally scraped together some money to buy a smart card for the FC game console. Dragon Quest, Juggernaut, Sophia's Resurrection, or Swallowing the World. Other than that, I don't remember that I participated in one performance in the 1st or 2nd grade. With a red mole between her eyebrows, she moved a small bench to perform Twinkle, Twinkle, the Sky is Full of Little Stars. Helena is mainly responsible for the management of Little Loli on weekdays. She is both the principal and the dean of students. Helena is also the main planner of this event. She pointed to the eaves. Everyone has arranged it well. Very good, Sugu praised generously. Helena lamented the hard work in the past few days. I originally thought that Mahan was unreliable, but I didn't expect that she still works very hard. Everyone is working hard. I just want to run around, join in the fun here, and there. Let's join in the fun again. There's also Long Xiang, who really wants to have a meal, but she's the only one pointing fingers behind her back, as if the leader is inspecting the work. How can you say she has such a bad character? Sugu said, actually, Long Xiang is quite cute. Have it? She is the cutest when she is being bullied, Sugu said. Standing nearby and talking too much, I pick her up and rub her face hard. Yeah, Helena also laughed. Looking into the distance, Sugu suddenly said, How is Veneto? Helena paused, calming and criticizing doesn't help at all. Originally, he wanted to prepare a Children's Day gift for Veneto, but after thinking about it, it was too cruel, so he didn't buy it in the end. Sugu said, I just said casually, you should smile happily, don't let anyone hear it, I will kill you old fate. What is old fate? My sister is very young. Lafayette didn't call me aunt yesterday. Sugu thought it was funny when he thought of that scene. He ordered people to set up tables on the playground and move them around. After doing it again and again, they finally moved it to the original place. As long as there is still a little bit of temper left, you can't tolerate such behavior. Such a leader or party really deserves a beating. Helena was helpless. If I didn't torment her and give it a try, how would I know that the original place is the best? The highlight is the evening, the performances. However, there are also some small competitions during the day, such as running, or picking marbles with chopsticks, etc. Then there are free activities, such as dart throwing, hooping, blind drumming, etc. You can use the winning tickets to exchange for candies and gifts. Everyone had already arrived at the playground first. Sugu just went over and first saw Falcon standing under the basketball stand. Falcon, is it necessary? Falcon was wearing a cheerleading uniform and said with a grimace, Flying insists that I wear it. Each little Japanese Lolita has a white strip of cloth tied on her head, with the words must win written on it. Long Xiang put his hands on his hips, looking a little fierce. Suifeng looked a little worried, wondering if he would bring good luck to his teammates. Among them, Lan was the most nervous and excited. His eyes were wide open, his face was slightly red, his lips were pursed tightly, and his hands were clenched into fists. When Sugu saw Xiangxin in the team, he asked, Xiangxin, how come you have become Japanese? Don't you belong to the Soviet Union? It was Akatsuki who spoke first, Admiral, this is not trust, this is Hibiki, my sister. Lei and Dion held trusting arms, one on the left and the other on the right. Hibiki, our sister. Xingxin looked at Sugu, and she was silent for a moment. I saw the Admiral and Sister Ruhi kissing behind the power distribution room. Oh, Xiao Lidian shook his finger and started to cheer. Sugu immediately ran away. Richelieu and Joan of Arc were talking, glancing around from time to time. Surcouf and Vauquelin were sitting on the garden railing, quietly. I only dream of wearing a national flag tights, like the one in the game. However, her long silver white hair was tied into a ponytail, which was very neat. Currently I am pressing my legs and running in place. Saratoga is sitting on the table tennis table, and the American girl is listening below. You remember, when you are running, you can run when you hear the shout of one. Don't wait until you hear the starting gun. I just ran, don't worry in vain, she will definitely fall. Anyway, no matter what, it doesn't matter even if you don't get first place, as long as you surpass the Japanese team, it will be fine. There are many British people, and there are also many German people. Forget it, they are still Japanese. Remember, when it is their turn to play, you will cheer me. If you boo them more, they will lose their momentum. They could have won, but you can only lose. Sugu stood nearby and listened, and couldn't help it anymore. Jia, shut up, what are you teaching me? The British side was fine, except for Amethyst, who was covering one of her eyes and suffering from a Chuyunibu attack. As long as I unlock the seal, no one will be my opponent. Italy was still hopeless, and Kamichia grabbed the hem of his clothes. Admiral, is it really not possible? Sister Aviel and Kaio will pack it up and give it to you to warm your bed. I would also like to, but it really doesn't work. Sugu said, I'm not a referee. I can't blow the whistle for you. The answer to the quiz is not mine. Kamichia looked disappointed. Okay. Sugu turned around and saw the scared expressions of Aviel and Kaio, and quickly explained. Zeppelin was mobilizing, giving speeches. Beyond our opponents and ourselves are our goals and our beliefs. There is a rainbow in the sky. It is beautiful and dazzling in the sky after the rain. There is also a rainbow in life, and that is. Sugu saw Xiaozai wearing short-sleeved shorts and raised his hand, victory or death. All in all, it's 9 o'clock, everyone is in their places, and the children's day activities have begun. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai Dirong Yan. Chapter 790. Under the bright sunshine, several tables on the playground were put together and turned into a rostrum and referee's stand. As the admiral, Sugu sat in the middle, with his reputation standing behind him. In the real sense, the secretary ship Lexington, who held great power, sat beside him. Then next to them are representatives of the American, British, Japanese, German, French, and Italian teams. Washington holds his chin with his hands clasped together, Bismarck who sits upright, Akagi who is dignified, and the elegant Hood who holds a black teacup. Sauce, Veneto who was sitting on a high bench so his feet couldn't reach the ground, and Richelieu who was expressionless. Speaking of which, why was Richelieu expressionless and unable to see any happiness? In fact, the game has already begun. Come on, come on, come on. Charge, speed up, sprint, shadow step. There were cheers and cheers all around. With cheerleaders like Hayabusa, the Raiders are not far behind at all. Anyway, they just have to be lively and happy. Her short blue hair is dancing and her face is full of smiles. Atlanta is the host. She holds the microphone and shows her cute little tiger teeth. Utopia, Utopia, she is the fastest among all the people. She is already far ahead. Is she going to lead like this until the finish line? Look, she that little electric motor-like butt. Suddenly, as if to cooperate, a certain white-haired girl fell down on the track. Atlanta put aside the beginning, the little princess who can't fall is definitely a fake little princess. Now, our fantasy has proved with facts that she is the genuine little princess. She fell, and she rolled on the ground twice. Washington said with a smile, I knew that fantasy would definitely fall. I thought to myself, this is simply the inevitable outcome. But even if they knew this would happen, no one could stop dreams from participating in the competition. Richelieu glanced at Washington and reluctantly responded. The reason for not having a good face is that my child really doesn't live up to expectations. It doesn't matter, Washington comforted her, I fantasize too much about being ahead of others. Even if she falls once, she will still be firmly in first place as long as she gets up. Sure enough, Atlanta waved her hands and shouted, get up. She got up, Utopia got up. She is still ahead, she is faster than anyone else. Failure is not terrible, failure is a humming success. In Tong Tong on the way to success, no one cares how many times you have fallen. What everyone sees is your glorious appearance after success. Little princess, you are our little princess. Lexington held the water glass and said, imaginations run too fast. Sugu was non-committal and raised his hand, 5, 4, 3. However, before he could finish speaking, Fantasy had already started her performance again. I don't know if my toes touched something or something, but I fell down and ran over it, my hands and legs straightened into an H shape. The game is actually like that, and the lively atmosphere still depends on Atlanta. Even if you don't watch the game, it's interesting just to hear her say, oh my god. Utopia fell down again, she fell to the ground, and she couldn't get up. Get up, Fantasy, don't give up treatment, don't be discouraged. You are still number one, you are still our hope. Well, forget it, let us look at number 2 first. Lafayette, she is Lafayette, she is Mad Dog Lafayette, she is Lucky Lafayette. Utopia fell down, and finally gave her a chance. She gradually caught up, and she saw Utopia, should she help him? Sure enough, friendship comes first, competition comes second. Atlanta only saw Lafayette, who was a good friend in his dreams, making a face towards his dreams and running away, breaking the boat, overcoming obstacles, walking on the mountain road called the top of the mountain of success. Go up. We can only look forward, we cannot be distracted. Lafayette has surpassed the fantasy, she is now the first. The black-backed jackal has surpassed the fantasy, she is now the second. Cheers, our supply Jiangsu master Heba Torsu has also surpassed his fantasy, and now everyone has surpassed his fantasy. Utopia, what's wrong with you? Run away, Utopia, forget it, we don't need to care about losers, let's see Lafayette, she got there first. There, she got there behind Atlanta were almost yelled out from the bottom of his lungs. It's not the Olympics, it's not even the Telemotion Games. It's not about being faster, higher, or stronger. This is just a program for Children's Day. Although competition is important, entertainment is obviously more important. Lafayette ran to a table and stopped. He quickly reached out and took out a piece of paper from the box. He opened it and saw that it said leapfrog. Atlanta came closer, she glanced at it, and shouted again, Lafayette, she hit the leapfrog, and now she has to run a lap with the leapfrog. Let us wait and see whether she can continue to maintain the first place. The little wolf dog, the black-backed jackal, she has also arrived. She started to draw, well, she is going to run in the opposite direction now. Xiaozai, the king of our garrison, what did she draw? Walking, she won the walking. She is in anguish, what does footrace mean? Oh, don't look at me, I don't know what it means. Leap of frog, croak, croak, Lafayette jumped over Utopia, Utopia is still lying on the ground. Atlanta was not afraid of anything, no, we have to call an ambulance. It seems Utopia needs a kiss to get up. Admiral, hurry up, take some action. Oh, Lafayette, why did you fall? Do you want to kiss me too? I heard a roar like a wild beast. I'm just saying, Admiral, don't really run over here. MRS Lee hold him, MRS Cat holds him, and MRS Akagya. Haha, there are so many wives. Alas, Washington and Richelieu, why don't you laugh? Smile, please be happy. The people standing by the runway burst out laughing when they heard Atlanta's words. Bang bang. Dong dong. Bang bang. The sound of slapping the table, the sound of the bench hitting people, the sound of punches hitting the flesh. Ahem, cough, cough. Well, Atlanta has been sent to the kitchen goddess. Now I will host it. I am Missouri. Missouri is also a good host. Look, Lafayette has already completed a circle, and she has danced again back there. This is the last lap, this is a run for money. Come on, Lafayette, tell me in front of this microphone, what did you win? Well, why did you leave? Let me tell you, note it says headband. Sure enough, it's lucky Raffi, the question is so easy, and now she's running towards Sixby. Xiaozai is also here, look what she drew. The note said, favorite person? She ran to the referee's table, and she took Bismarck away, that was her favorite sister Meow. Hey, that admiral named Su, why are you standing up? It's none of your business, just sit down, don't make things worse for yourself. Sugu wanted to imitate Washington and Richelieu, but after thinking that he really couldn't defeat Missouri, he finally gave it up. Missouri smoothed her long brown hair and said, a relay race. In fact, this is still a relay race. Two people have 3 legs. Mahan and Cushing were already waiting at the finish line. Lafayette arrived, handed over the baton, and they started running. What a pair of sisters. Let's see how they understand each other. I bet they are like the same person. Well, they fell. It's normal to not get used to it at first. Another pair of sisters, Z17 and Z18, also started running and they fell down. They started arguing and fighting. Someone come quickly and pull them away. Thunder and lightning are still the fastest. They are about to catch up with Mahan and Cushing. Congratulations, Team America won. The exercise ended soon, and next came the knowledge competition. Anyway, the questions were messy. The host is still Missouri, because Atlanta is still under repair. She is introducing the rules. Each team sends 2 people. At each stage, each team has an opportunity to ask for help off the field. When asking for help, raise your hand to signal. Of course, Fletcher was not allowed to participate. It was too much for her to be a child. Anyway, the American team sent a giant mackerel and an archerfish. The same goes for Z1 and Z16, they are already girls. Destroyer Renegade, Z31 as well. At the player table, the sleepy Z24 is just making up the numbers. With round eyes, the primary school bully Z28 is the main force. In the end, Suk Bader and Odin sat together, and no one thought much of them at all. This is a quick answer question. Points will be deducted if you win, and points will be deducted if you lose. Missouri took the card and glanced at it. Listen to the first question first. Model worker, the abbreviation of model worker, is used in various industries and positions in social construction. An honorary title for those who have made outstanding contributions. Who is the deep sea model worker we often talk about? No one knew it, no one knew it, and Lulan answered quickly, Yamato of the deep sea, Yamato. The headless horseman, legend has it that he was a brave knight during his lifetime. Unfortunately, he was killed on the battlefield and his head was cut off by the enemy. Therefore, every night when the moon is dark and the wind is high, he will ride a horse that is also undead, looking around for his lost head. We often talk about the headless senior. Which ship girl is this? No one answered the question yet, so New Orleans looked around and withdrew from the crowd. Missouri smiled happily. In the well-known story of Little Washington chopping down the cherry tree, why did Dad forgive Little Washington in the end? A. Little Washington confessed afterward. Dad thought she was an honest child and forgave her. B. Little Washington hid the hatchet. C. Little Washington planted another cherry tree. D. Little Washington was holding the hatchet. Of course it's D. There's no one who isn't afraid of the falling cherry god's axe. The big mackerel had just finished answering when he saw Washington's gloomy face. As a reminder, this question is a multiple choice question. Missouri said, in the vast sea, how can we find the enemy first? A. Equipped with a reconnaissance aircraft. B. Equipped with a radar. C. The bridge is higher. D. At night turn on the searchlights. Fuzang felt that many people were looking at her, and New Orleans hugged her sister, Akin. Questions, answers, laughter, the morning passed quickly. Looking for the lost ship girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 791. The lunch was ordinary, nothing specially prepared. After all, the usual food was good enough. Mainly because there are super cooks like Yuxian and Fuzang, who can make even ordinary ingredients delicious. In the afternoon, it's time for free activities. The adults take their places, and the little girl can choose to challenge various games. If you fail, of course you get nothing. You can only get the tickets if you win. The coupons can then be exchanged for gifts, ranging from a large piece of metal chocolate wrapped in golden tinfoil to a day trip to Sichuan Show Park, the zoo, and the amusement park accompanied by the Admiral. This was the place for the chopstick and marble game, with Cushing grimacing at the basin until after her third failure, she was disqualified. Mahan, the unscrupulous sister, also made sarcastic remarks, Cushing, you usually like to use a spoon, but now you are at a disadvantage. Stop looking at me with tears in your eyes. If you say no, it won't work. Everyone only has 3 chances. The person in charge, Joan of Arc, couldn't bear it anymore. Okay, I'll give you another chance. Once a military police reservist and now a member of the disciplinary committee, the solemn Acasta sat in front of a dining table with an ugly expression. Come on, Acasta, we're just a little closer. Persistence is victory, otherwise the success will be in vain. Stinky tofu, durian, and canned herring are weapons of mass destruction, forget it. Plates containing bitter melon, green pepper, celery, fat pork, coriander, super spicy rice pepper, hautunia cordata, etc. are placed on a long dining table. The little girl only needs to eat a little of each to get the lottery ticket. Now Acasta has eaten a lot, only a little bit less, and there are many people around to cheer her on. After mustering up the courage, she finally killed them all. She only heard the person in charge, Ruhi, say, Acasta, I have a special challenge here. As long as you pass, you will get 10 lottery tickets. London's special borsong soup, not much, just a small bowl is enough. Kamichia shouted loudest, drink, drink, drink. Ugolini said, Acasta, you are also a British ship, what are you afraid of? Acasta picked up the bowl. After a moment, Ziwahi shouted, someone, send Acasta to the health room. Who wants to challenge next? Sullivan, listen to me. Sister, don't lie to me, I'm not Thatcher. Good sister, how could I lie to you? All right. A little to the right, then take a step forward, and that's right there. Use force. Sullivan took the drum and pestle and swung it hard. It obviously didn't miss, but why didn't it make any sound? She pulled off the black blindfold and took a look, only to see a gloomy-looking Helena holding a hand in front of her forehead and grabbing the drum and pestle. In just a moment, she reacted and understood what was going on. He couldn't help but be in a daze, and couldn't help but get angry. Sigsby Sullivan shouted, no longer obedient, and rushed towards his sister. Exeter's long pink hair was swaying in the wind, and she said softly, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, it's 10 laps, Firefly, you can go. As long as you don't step out of bounds and walk to the end, that's it. The reward is a raffle ticket. After finally stopping to circle, Firefly looked around, feeling like the world was spinning, and his head felt dizzy. Who I am? Where am I? What should I do? Tongue twister challenge. U-47 looked at the blackboard and it said, black fertilizer volatilizes and the ash will cause the flowers to fly, gray fertilizer volatilizes to black and the flowers will fly. He thought, as long as he reads it accurately within 10 seconds, it feels like it is not difficult at all. Sister Euxian, I'm going to start, please pay attention. Okay, Euxian was wearing a cheongsam, with her legs close together and slanted. Now her perfect and slender legs could be seen again. U-47 took a breath, black fertilizer is waving, gray, 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 gray. Gray fertilizer is waving, black, gray, gray, gray. U-505 burst into laughter, and U-81 hugged his little wolf and snickered. Although it is a children's festival, a festival for children and children, there are still many adults participating. Otherwise, if you are not responsible for any game and just watch the little loli play, it will be too boring. There are only so many little Lolita girls in the guardhouse, but there are a lot of games. Without adults, many games would go unchallenged. Of course, even if adults win the challenge, the lottery tickets they receive are different from those of little Lolita. If they want to redeem their prizes, the number must be multiplied by 3. Bumblebee held the toy gun and leaned over the table, aiming at the balloon in the distance. Her high buttocks were patted several times. Audrey B. Big ass. Bumblebee turned back and glared at Maryland. In. Coming in again. No one has a better standing shot than Tennessee and California. Seeing Andrea and Ko having fun, Veneto also gave it a try. After winning, seeing that the lottery tickets she received were the same as those of the little Lolita, she did nothing but kill Colorado, who was smiling happily. The attacker exchanges one prize coupon for 2 large pieces of chocolate. He can also choose various flavors at high prices and buy the coupons from the little Lolita. After finally saving enough, she ran to the prize redemption table. I want to exchange it for the reward of a one-day trip with Admiral Chuangziu. Leipzig had no expression on his face and put away the lottery tickets. Where did you get such lottery tickets? Are you still a child? Well, I won't hold you accountable for cheating. I have confiscated them all. What? Give it back to me, the attacker cried and screamed, and finally left helplessly. As a prize cashier, I naturally have a way. Leipzig put most of it in the drawer, leaving a small part in his pocket. Suddenly he saw Scharnhorst next to him. You are indispensable. Everyone who sees it has a share. I will give you 5. It's not good. Scharnhorst couldn't stand this kind of fraud. 10. Leipzig shook his head. It was obvious that you were too greedy. Scharnhorst insisted, give it back to the raiders. Half. Even if it is a stereotypical German ship, Scharnhorst has been around Yuxian and Chongqing for a long time and has learned to be diplomatic. It's very difficult for me to do this. Until the afternoon, various games were over. It was finally time for the night performance. In fact, Sugu originally thought that everyone would get tired easily after playing all day. But think about it, everyone is a ship girl, so as long as you think about it, you won't feel tired at all. Even Bazai has the experience of sailing on the sea without sleep or fighting for a whole day and night. The town government has a special auditorium on the first floor of the complex, but this time it is an open-air stage. The American department performed first. Sigsby is the narrator. Once upon a time, there was a little girl destroyer who went to fry fish. She accidentally lost her bombardier. She sat on the sea and cried. Mahan appeared. She knelt on the stage and stretched out her hands everywhere, as if looking for something. Bombardier, my bombardier, don't leave me. Sigbys shook his head. At this time, a ferry appeared from the sea holding 3 bombardiers. Dry ice had been prepared, and the smoke rose. Sullivan appeared in a beautiful gauze dress, playing the role of a little fairy. Little girl, did you drop this green bombardier, this purple bombardier, or the golden bombardier? Mahan shook his head and she said, what I dropped was the colored hedgehog bomb depth projectile. You are a dishonest child, so I won't give you a bombardier. Sullivan quietly exited the stage. Mahan hurriedly chased after him and made a heart-rending voice, what I dropped was the colored hedgehog bomb depth projectile. Give it back to me. Sigsby narrated again, but the fairy was gone, and she was never to be found again. At this time, Mahan put his hand on his waist and pointed to the sky. The heaven and the earth are unkind and treat all things as stupid dogs. If this is destined by God, then, damn it, I must go against heaven. Sigsby smiled. That's how the story begins. Off the stage, Sugu tugged at Saratoga's skirt. Gia, your script is so amazing. Brother-in-law, it's great. Okay, you win. Great writer. Sugu looked at the stands and asked Lexington in a low voice, I don't know if they like this kind of performance. If they don't like it, it's just for us to watch, all right. Lexington explained, no, they like it very much because it is interesting. And as ship girls, recognition is very important to them. If they can be liked by everyone and praised by the admiral, they will be extremely happy. The most important thing is, yes, there are prizes. Big mackerel, archerfish, why are you still here? New Orleans said, change your clothes and get ready to perform. Guangrong pushed the person sitting next to him. Royal Oak. What's wrong? It's nothing, I thought you were asleep. Zeppelin did not sit down. She stood under a phoenix tree, folding her arms and smiling. The performance was still very interesting. Hindenburg watched it with great interest. Missouri sat next to her and said, "It's not bad." "What's the meaning?" I said, "It's the town hall." It had been more than a year since he came to the garrison and he had experienced a lot. Hindenburg hummed, "It's not bad." Missouri smiled, leaned back on the chair and looked up at the sky. "I hope you don't regret inviting you here and don't blame me." Hindenburg said, "I want to leave, no one can stop me." "We still need the Enterprise." Missouri chuckled, "Instructor, Victory, it's time to retire." Missouri was disgusted, "You are such a madam. Go." Hindenburg asked, "Who planned these things?" "Me." Missouri said, "There are a lot of people, but that guy is still the mastermind. It's not just in name." "Is he really the mastermind?" "It's really the mastermind." Missouri said, "Actually, for an admiral, it's pretty good, but he's a bit timid." Hindenburg squinted at Missouri and nodded thoughtfully, "A good man, but a little timid. Let me guess what you are thinking about. The two of them don't seem to get along, but they are actually good friends." Missouri was not shy. She hugged Hindenburg's neck and laughed, "Come on, be my dowry maid." The Xiaoxiang Thunderbolts have just finished, and it's the Italian team's turn. Stage plays, choruses, sketches, oboe. The show continues. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 792. Children's Day is over. Reputation, don't worry about this, leave it to me. Sugu said, get a few people to clean up other places. The blind man played the drums in front of the complex building, and the drum stand was still in place. The balloon shooting was chosen next to the warehouse. All the balloons hanging on the nails on the wall were broken, and the toy gun was placed on the counter several meters away from the wall. In short, the activity is over. Since we played very late, everyone went to rest directly without clearing up. But the tables, chairs, benches, buckets, basins, and brackets that were left in place must now be put away. Sugu waved his hand. Lexington, you instruct them to dismantle the stage and move all the shelves and boards back to the warehouse. Instead of the auditorium, we chose to set up an open-air stage in the playground because it felt more atmospheric and you could see the bright starry sky. Now that the stage is no longer in use and is still in the way, it naturally needs to be dismantled and put away. Speaking of which, thanks to the previous governor's office, many things were left behind, so there is no need to buy any more. It's not that I feel bad about the money, it's mainly that I feel troublesome. Tianlong, Ryuada, take care of those little guys. Sugu said, that Fei Ying, Falcon, and Suzuya, you sisters, help move all these seats back to the classroom. Go. Don't pay attention to the triangular flags hanging under the eaves, or flying over the tree canopy and the railings of the dormitory corridors. The plan is to dress up for Christmas and wait until some time later. However, in front of the stage, many of the benches where everyone sat to enjoy the performance were still standing. While they were in the way, the little lowly had to use them in class. Dressed up beautifully and full of lust, Megami started shouting, but she cared about it very much, "Admiral, what is Suzuya, and her sisters? Shouldn't I say, Megami, take you with me, my sister? Or is there something going on between you and Suzuya?" "Nothing." Yes, I was wrong," Sugu said. "Megami, take your sister and move these chairs and benches back to the classroom." Megami nodded, "That's pretty much it." Sugu looked to the side again. "Counterattack, bring a few people to clean up the ground. There's a lot of garbage. Packaging left behind by snacks and fireworks does not count." After the performance, someone moved out the barbecue grill, leaving bones, bamboo sticks, and beer bottles all over the place. Speaking of which, Kaohsiung also made special late-night snacks. Because she was having so much fun, many people didn't notice that it was her, and her late-night snack skills were beyond contempt, resulting in so many victims. After all, everyone often goes to her Kaohsiung noodle shop to enjoy Japanese food, and even eats spicy hot pot and oden when they have nothing to do. How can she treat her like she is in London? In fact, Sugu was planning to eat some, but fortunately Lexington was around and there was a reputation reminder to prevent such a thing. Otherwise, I don't know if I can see the sun tomorrow. Of course, there will be no problem with the sun tomorrow. South Dakota, what are you standing there for? Come and help. Sugu looked next to him again. South Dakota was unconscious, and when he heard Sugu's greeting, he looked around to find the broom. In short, he was busy and spent a whole morning tidying up the governor's mansion. Sugu slept on the sofa in the coffee shop. To be honest, it was quite tiring, but I didn't feel hard at all. It's not that I don't want to do things, there are many times when I really have nothing to do and I become a mascot. Brother-in-law, he didn't help at all in the morning, but now he came running over. Saratoga sat down next to him, then raised his head and placed it on her white thighs. Where did you go this morning? Sugu thought about it. He originally saw the girl standing with Baizai upstairs in the dormitory from a distance, talking in the corridor. Realizing that he had noticed them, he immediately squatted on the ground and hid behind the guardrail. Now that I think about it, I definitely didn't want to ask them to do something. Even though the beautiful girl had a pillow on her knees, she couldn't let go so easily. I didn't go anywhere. Saratoga turned her head and looked at the window, she was still ashamed. I saw you, and I noticed that you were avoiding me when you saw me. Don't you know how to come down and help me? There are so many of you. If I go there, I just want to watch the fun. Saratoga thought for a while and said, actually, Baizai told me not to go. I still don't know Baizai's character, Sugu said, she won't hide at all, she will just show her displeasure directly. She doesn't mind others knowing how lazy she is. You are the only one who can be clever. Saratoga was shameless, you know it so clearly. My brother-in-law knows Gaga very well. Doesn't he like Gaga very much? Dislike. I'm beating you up. Saratoga raised her hand and hummed again, you never ask Baizai to do any work. Because she is hopeless. Sugu sighed. When Baizai becomes the lonely queen of the north, I guess it will be okay. However, with my sister here, the admiral here, and many friends from the garrison, there would only be a northern otaku girl. For example, on Children's Day this time, Zeppelin and Prince Eugen were the most active, and Bismarck often paid attention to them. She was the only one who could say that she never paid attention to it from beginning to end. She was busy reading books, drawing books, sleeping, reading comics, or eating potato chips, French fries, and Coke. Really, brother-in-law, I'm not willing to give in, I'm really not willing to give in. After resting for a while, Sugu left his lap pillow and sat up, while Saratoga lay on the round table. I was the champion last year. I worked hard as a director and everyone worked very hard. I thought that the defending champion was still within reach, but I didn't expect that it would suffer a misfortune. Sugu said, although your performance is very innovative, the British, Firefly's performance is very good, and Venus's singing is really nice. I didn't expect it. Their performance was pretty good. Saratoga recalled last night's performance and had to admit that it was amazing. I originally thought that the Japanese were strong enemies, but after all, Dai Feng returned to the garrison. It is said that she is a talented beautiful girl writer with extremely high sales of her works. It would be great if she wrote the script. And Lan, this little guy is the best at facial expressions and is very funny. I didn't expect that the British team won the championship this year despite their poor performance last year. What a dark horse. Sugu said, The script was written by Reputation. I originally thought that the Italian team could play some tricks, but I didn't expect it to be ordinary. It must be due to Veneto's full supervision. Not to mention the legal system, there are only 3 people, and the fantasy is extremely unreliable. Although he has the appearance of a little princess, he is actually a guy full of energy. Because of their character, the Germans are too conservative. Suk Bader and Odin were just making up the numbers. Does she still have time to write scripts? Saratoga thought to herself. Reputation had been wearing a maid outfit all day long, ordering people to do things everywhere. Otherwise, staying with your brother-in-law will make it difficult for people to get close to you. Otherwise, follow Hood and prepare to buy afternoon tea. At night, she can write at night, Sugu explained. He thought to himself, the back of the famous figure with the desk lamp on, wearing pajamas, holding a pen, and sitting at the desk was very interesting. Saratoga's focus was elsewhere. Let me just say, I couldn't find you a few nights ago, and it turned out you were in the prestigious room again. Only one day, Sugu stretched. Although the Reputation bunny girl pretends to be a big fan, we can't favor one over the other. But she can even write scripts. It's so amazing. Saratoga was only surprised, not envious. She only admires her sister Lexington. She is a sister control. The decathlon maid is, after all, Lexington handpicked, one of the strongest enemies, in fact Yi and others, but fortunately he has no ambition. Saratoga suddenly thought of something. Brother-in-law, did you help? He still gave some advice on writing the script for Reputation, and Sugu admitted, I definitely need to help a little bit. You didn't help me. You treat the script like a treasure. If you don't let me know, how can I help you? I won't show it to you, mainly because I'm afraid it will be spoiled. Saratoga nodded, and then thought about it, but it doesn't matter if you win the championship or something. Anyway, if you beat those Japanese guys, it will be okay. Everything will be fine, ha ha ha. There have always been many conflicts among the people. If it weren't for Ribo, Shikiya, Fubuki, and Shirayuki, who are not in the townhouse, they are very good at dancing. Otherwise, just because you want to beat us, Ziwahi happened to be passing by. When she heard Saratoga's words, she sat down immediately. Come down and retort. Despite having fought together several times, Saratoga was still unhappy with Ziwahi. She shouted, Little 13. Beguru. He brushed his short hair. The two hate each other. This is the sister-in-law's war. Ruhi is not the sister-in-law. Xianghe can only be said to be the sister-in-law. Prince Eugen, your German performance is really wonderful, but it's just a little bit behind. Just try harder next time. If you want to ask us for advice, we can teach you as long as you ask. After all, we are sisters from the same town. Sekat, glasses girl, instant explosion. While Hood was chattering, Prince Eugen pulled the expressionless Bismarck and left angrily. Normally he would be angry, but this time Hood was not angry at all. He just stretched out his hand and covered his mouth with the back of his hand to smile. Until Bismarck and Prince Eugen completely disappeared into the cafe, she stroked Ginger and returned to her seat. Prince of Wales, look at those Germanic barbarians. I praised them for their good performance and wanted to help them. Look at them. What to do? Personal attack. But I'm not angry. Even if it is a Children's Day game, this is the reason why you want to win. You can laugh at and tease your opponents without restraint. Hood, that's enough. The Prince of Wales was not that bored. She shook her head and raised her forehead. Stop showing off, beware of another Denmark Strait naval battle. Yes. It just so happens that you two, be careful. Hood saw Sugu, that's just history. I saw Sugu at the beginning, but Saratoga had already passed by before, so I didn't want to go. The Prince of Wales asked curiously, why are you here? Sugu looked back and saw Saratoga and Ruhi still staring at each other. I thought to myself, would I be stupid not to leave? Hood was excited. Admiral, we got first place. Sugu said rudely, Huda, you haven't done anything to help except drinking some black tea and watching. I shouted, come on. Hood was silent for a moment. Sugu was speechless. Hood paused, isn't the Prince of Wales the same? Normally focusing on majesty, how could the Prince of Wales participate in this kind of Children's Day? Thinking of this, Sugu said to the Prince of Wales, listen, what is Hood talking about? This is your predecessor, the glory of the Royal Navy. I think it is the shame of the Royal Navy. The Prince of Wales sighed. Snapped. What nonsense are you talking about, Admiral? Hood patted Sugu on the shoulder. Since they had an extremely close relationship, they are now getting closer and closer. Sugu thought for a moment, just be happy now. After a few days, or at most a month, the impact of this incident will pass. Just wait for Prince Eugene's revenge afterwards. Hood picked up the black tea again and took a sip. The Prince of Wales will help me. I can't. The Prince of Wales waved her hand. In her mind, Hood was bullied entirely because of himself. Hood looked at Sugu and said, Admiral, will you help me? Neither can I. Husband. Sugu paused and found it hard to refuse when he heard Hood's cute voice. Hey, Hood, when did you learn to act coquettishly and cutely? The Prince of Wales reminded, Admiral, don't get involved. It's Bismarck and Richelieu again. You can't help them all. What happened to Richelieu? Hood often showed his affection in front of Richelieu. No show. Hood said seriously, I just told her about the Admiral. Sugu finally understood. Bismarck, Hood, Richelieu, one thing is reduced to the other, and the brine is tofu. There are many little Lolita running around in the coffee shop. They have no class today. After all, they had a fun day on Children's Day and had classes the next day. Sugu was not so cruel and gave them 2 more days off. Hood watched Firefly waving the magic wand. Admiral, everyone has been working really hard these days. I decided to take them out to play tomorrow, to the Sichuan show, to the amusement park, and to the mall. Go ahead. You go too. Me, Sugu said, I wonder if something is wrong. If something happens, I'll put it off. Hood said, it's okay if you don't go. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 793. Hippopotamus, big hippopotamus. M1 jumped up and down. Yes, Sugu stood beside M1. The German team is simply vulnerable, even last year's champion American team was defeated. It's rare to be able to feel proud in the governor's mansion. In order to reward everyone, Hood decided to take a group of British little Lolita out to play. Of course, as the Admiral, Sugu must accompany him. Fortunately, he doesn't have much work, so, it's better to call him Admiral, but he is actually the mascot of the town government. His job is to accompany everyone. As for the daily management of the garrison, there is the secretary-ship Lexington. Routine maintenance work has the reputation of head maid. The handling of expedition agreements, contracts, and related matters is the domain of Barrister Washington. The original plan was to go to the amusement park, but the amusement park was located on the outskirts of the city, and there were too many activities that a young Lolita was not allowed to play in. In the end, we decided to do the activities in the urban area of Chuangziu. Sugu had not yet woken up early in the morning, so he was woken up by the little maid's counterattack, reminding him that he was ready to go. After all, there is still a certain distance between the governor's mansion and Chuangziu. As usual, if you have a leisurely breakfast and then rush to Chuangziu, it will be close to noon in the morning. All in all, on the 3rd day of Children's Day, everyone arrived at Chuangziu Pier in the morning and went to the zoo without stopping. The hippopotamus did not open its mouth, exposing its yellowed fangs. Instead, it rested its chin on the concrete guardrail and moved its ears. M1 saw this scene, so cute. In the governor's house, no one knows all kinds of animals better than Sugu. He said, don't be deceived by their appearance. In fact, they are grumpy brothers. The little girl M1 blinked her big eyes and looked at Sugu. Sugu explained, hippos are the most dangerous animals in Africa. They just look docile, but they kill thousands of people every year. I know that hippos are very ferocious. I have read it in the encyclopedia. The queen is no longer a little Lolita, she is a girl and did not participate in Children's Day at all. She also didn't participate in the performance, and she wasn't a little Lolita either, but when she heard that everyone was going to Sichuan's show, the girl Javelin unconsciously followed her out. At this time, she heard Sugu's words and argued, how does the admiral know that hippopotamus kills so many people in a year? Sugu thought to himself, of course he had learned about it from the internet and the animal world in the past, so the data should be fairly accurate. But think about it, this is another world again, he said, don't worry so much. M1 stretched out his hand and wanted to touch it, but of course he couldn't reach the hippo. Doesn't it feel great? It can bite a crocodile into 2 pieces in 1 bite. Do you think it's awesome? Sugu remembered that every time he accompanied a different little loli to the zoo, he would show off like this every time he saw the hippopotamus, and it suddenly became funny. After waving his hand, Javelin said, I can punch through the steel plate with 1 punch. I thought, please, be a little conscious. You are ship girls, elves, heroic spirits, and supermen. Sugu stared at the javelin, making the girl feel uncomfortable. Then he raised his hand and patted the girl on the head, ruffling the long, silky pink hair. You're not happy if you don't make any excuses, aren't you? He, Javelin scratched his hair and showed a somewhat yearning expression. I wonder if hippopotamus meat is delicious. Have no idea. Want to eat? Sugu looked at the javelin and thought that this girl seemed to be a master of dark cooking as well. The costume-changing vertical painting in the game seems to be roasting the deep-sea destroyer. That's not all, there are all kinds of strange ingredients around. But let's not talk about the game, there is no worldview, and there is no set at all. However, when the two met, the octopus legs soaked in formalin in the secret room of the windmill were true. Are the tentacles of a deep-sea submarine delicious? It's been a long time since I've had it, and I can't remember the taste. Javelin said, I miss it so much. Gilug, gilug, there's movement at the bottom of the sea. The deep bomb is ready. 1, 2, 3, launch. Hit the target. Cast the net, drag it back to the governor's house, cut off the tentacles and put them on the barbecue net. Sprinkle with cumin, salt, and pepper, and brush with oil. Turn it over and do it again. Wait for 2 minutes, watch a joke, and the fragrance will permeate the air. Sugu felt a little discouraged. You win, even if you lose, you can still keep your mouth shut. It's just tentacles. Javelin lay on the guardrail, looking at the hippo, with his head resting on his arm. I read in the encyclopedia that the hippopotamus is an omnivore and eats meat. It kills so many people every year. It cannibalism. I don't know. Sugu really didn't know how the hippopotamus treated the people it attacked and killed. Javelin suddenly said, I wonder if human flesh is delicious. The smile on Sugu's face faded little by little. He paused, then turned his hand into a fist and hit Javelin on the head. Javelin held his head and yelled, just asking, I don't want to eat. Don't ask questions like this, okay? Javelin said, but I read in the book that 2-legged sheep can be eaten by changing their sons. You have ruined the image in my mind. Isn't the ship girl the embodiment of truth, goodness, and beauty? No, Javelin, you are a deep-sea spy. Sugu couldn't remember the artist's setting, or the player's second setting. The javelin, the chaser, and the Prince of Wales have some connection with the deep sea. Even if it's a joke, don't make such a joke. It's very scary. I'm a little panicked. I'm going home and I won't be an admiral anymore. Javelin said calmly, let's go, Admiral. Just don't let the prince sister capture him. Otherwise, we can only eat the admiral, so that the admiral will always be with Javelin. Clearing his throat, Sugu said, don't worry, I will never leave. I will definitely be the best admiral in the world. This is best. M1, let's finish watching the hippopotamus. The fireflies and the others have gone to the giraffes, so let's go there quickly. There are pandas behind, aren't you your favorite? Sugu glanced at the javelin carefully, pretending to be nonchalant. Looking for fireflies is of course false, but looking for reputation is real. Only having reputation around can make people feel at ease. It feels like only the head maid will always protect her master responsibly no matter what she does. Besides, even Lexington can't do it. My wife behaves as gentle and virtuous, but secretly she has a dark belly and is a little sick at heart. This is something I already knew. After visiting the zoo, it was already morning and I decided to buy some books. Sichuanjiu has a bookstore and a book market respectively. We went to the book market first, which is also the book market. The main reason is that many books there are discounted, so you can save a little bit. There is another reason, naturally it is relatively close. You don't need to go far, just cross a bridge and you're there. The only thing you need to worry about is pirated books. Almost there, Venus whispered. Reputation grabbed Amethyst, who was running and jumping in a t-shirt and bloomers, deliberately holding a parasol. Be careful on the road. The serious Acasta spoke, feeling a bit psychologically disturbed. Admiral, I don't want reference books and test papers anymore, don't buy them for me. Hood covered his mouth and laughed. Admiral, you can really commit a heinous crime. Admiral, I want to eat grilled squid. There is a middle school next to the book market, and you can reach the pedestrian street through an alley. It is quite lively here, and there are quite a few vendors on the roadside. To be honest, Legion is pretty greedy. Okay, Sugu looked at the group of little Lolita, who else wants grilled squid? Young girls are the kind of girls who are completely undeveloped, while Loli are the kind of girls who have started to develop but are not yet fully developed. However, among the ship girls, there are too many traitors. Then there is another widely circulated statement. Push a little girl down and if she says, it hurts, then she is a young girl. If she says in horror, what do you want to do, that's a Loli. Finally, I entered the book market and watched everyone choose books. At this time, I could accurately distinguish who was a young girl, who was a Loli, and who was a girl. M1 only knows fairy tale books, comic books, noisy crayons, pens, pencil cases, and small school bags. Although she usually behaves like a little slut and has a good figure, she is actually still a young girl. Firefly no longer bothers to read fairy tales, but she has never read romance novels. She was standing in front of a bookshelf filled with joke books and funny comics. She was a little Loli. Javelin bought several romance novels and comics, and looked at the hot-bodied girls on the magazine covers with envy. She already knows love and loves beauty, she is a girl. After staying here for quite a long time, when I walked out of the book, the sun was shining brightly outside. Sugu looked at his pocket watch and saw that it was already noon. Everyone found a big restaurant for lunch. In the afternoon, I went to the underground shopping mall, pedestrian street, and Nanchinj department store. When she came out, M1 was holding a dinosaur doll that was bigger than herself. Because Lafite has a bat, Blackback Jackal also wants a bat. Javelin wears a peaked cap on his head, looking particularly youthful. Others, each carrying bags, contain their new clothes. It was getting dark. Admiral, can we go back tonight? Okay, Sugu said, whatever you say today is fine. Javelin said, what do you mean, Admiral, it won't work tomorrow? Sugu was expressionless. I will tell the Prince of Wales tonight that I will teach you a lesson tomorrow. there is still no one who is not afraid of the Prince of Wales. Beside Yangqiao, many small shops choose to set up shelves on the river, lay out wooden boards, and put out tables and chairs. The river is at your feet, and the lush canopy of big trees is above your head. You can feed the fish while lying on the railing. Enjoying delicious food here is particularly delicious. I found a shop and put together 3 long tables, which could easily accommodate a large group of people. Sugu felt a little nostalgic. I used to study at the Chuangziu Naval Academy, and I often came here with Lexington and the others. As long as it doesn't rain, everything is fine. These things, ha ha ha, all have increased in price. It's that bridge. There are usually many people performing, singing, and playing guitar. Leipzig used to sell things there. You didn't want me to know about it, but I discovered it anyway. Hood had his back to the river and faced the street, and she was listening quietly. Suddenly she saw someone walking across the street. She stood up suddenly and tried to look around. Sugu turned his head and didn't find anything strange. Hood sat down and rubbed his forehead. At the same moment, a family of 3 stopped on the street.